Albert Breer, Monday morning quarterback, with the Browns quarterback competition and how it stands as they get ready to head into training camp.
There's a reason why they held Joe Flacco back in the spring and kind of gave him, like what I've called with you guys, a first-round bye in the quarterback competition. And, you know, so they've gathered information on Kenny Pickett. They've gathered information on Dylan Gabriel. They've gathered information on Shedeur Sanders. And they know where all four guys are right now. Is there going to be somebody who's going to take a jump or has taken a jump based on the work he's done and the whatever it is, 40 days between the end of minicamp and the start of training camp? That's possible. But I would think, like, right now they've got a coherent plan. And I think what's difficult about it, guys, is like this isn't a rebuilding team. They won 11 games 2 years ago. You have a lot of proud veterans in that roster who aren't looking for you to make a tournament out of the quarterback situation. And you have guys in that quarterback room who are a little bit different. You know, like I think if Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel were the starter, you'd have a lot more movement stuff in the offense. You'd be kind of keying on their athleticism where, you know, with Joe Flacco or Shedeur Sanders, you'd be playing the position in a little bit of a more traditional way.
So, Casey, Albert brought something up that I think a lot of the national media either is overlooking or doesn't want to believe. This is a roster that has some talent on it. Now, the talent, they need the quarterback because that's the most important position on a football team. But they're not going to mess around with, well, we got to look at this guy until it's pretty clear that this season has gone, you know, in the dumper again.
Yeah, the thing with the roster confuses me because if you rewind 1 year ago, the Browns were looked at as a consensus top 10 roster entering the season. Now, we know the way the season went, and there was regression. But from more than one player, several players regressed. But none of the players that regressed were the reasons that the Browns roster was looked at the way that it is. But that 3-14 is hanging over top of you, and you even look at the projections for this year, and even Vegas, you know, they expect the Browns to be picking in the top 5 next year. I feel that this team is going to be closer to that 11-win team of 23 than it was the 3-win team of last year. But how much? It could be negligible. It could be 4 games either way. But like to me, the bones are there. But there's so much hanging over the quarterback that it just everyone's down nationally. I've seen, you know, hear what Breer said right there. You listen to what Daniel Jeremiah thinks, that he thinks one of these rookies are going to start. I heard, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick think it's going to be Joe Flacco. For me, it all points towards Joe Flacco. It's just it's the guy that the locker room can believe in. The proof of concept that you have from 23 will carry over into that locker room and give this team something to rally behind, because you have to have belief, especially early in the season. If you go into the season thinking, well, we're just experimenting, man, this thing will get off the rails quick. You'll lose the locker room and you will lose your job as head coach if that happens. You know, so it's imperative for me, unless one of these guys does take the leap. And if they do, that is great. That's a wonderful problem to have, is if one of these rookies, or even Pickett, one of these guys go and just takes the job and proves they're head and shoulders above everyone else. But if that doesn't happen, you have the break glass in case of emergency, Joe Flacco, and just let the season go through him. And then it can progress the way it needs to progress based on wins and losses.
Yeah, and it's the one, a lot of people are saying it's the safest. I think it's the most logical way to play the beginning of the season. I don't know about safest. I think it makes the most sense.